What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OG GM, coming to you live at 11 o'clock in the morning here from the steps of the courthouse. Because, as you may have heard, I'm a little late to the story with this one. TSR has declared Chapter 7 bankruptcy. But don't worry, no, don't worry. It's not our beloved TSR Concrete Coatings, the single largest retailer of concrete coatings in the Midwest. No. Our unofficial sponsor, TSR Concrete Coatings, is fine. Love you guys. You're my favorite company whose names start with TSR. Yes, TSR Concrete Coating, the single largest retailer of concrete in the Midwest, is fine. So don't worry. Let's just get that out of the way. I know everybody saw TSR declaring bankruptcy, and they're like, no, not TSR Concrete Coating. But no. TSR Concrete Coating is fine. We're talking about the other TSR. You remember those guys, the Justin LaNasa TSR. Oh, yes, the controversy collecting Justin LaNasa over at NuTSR, home of games like New Star Frontiers that may or may not exist, and Memorial Tome that may or may not exist, and other things. No. Justin is no stranger to legal issues and problems. The man has attracts controversy and legal issues and lawsuits and nonsense like an ice cream truck collects kids. He has even gone after me. A small little nobody like me has received commentary and criticism and insults and threats from Mr. LaNasa. Not to mention, the numerous puppet accounts and threats and whatever that he has tossed at other people we know. But yeah, so never one to shy away from controversy. Our buddy Justin has been shepherding the TSR title for quite a while and doing what many would say a piss poor job. But others apparently claim it's a powerhouse. It's such a powerhouse that he has had to finally declare bankruptcy. And oh no, not the nice bankruptcy like I had to declare. No, it's Chapter 7 bankruptcy. That's the bad one. So what led to this? Well, Justin is spending more than he makes. He has acquired a lot of debts. He has apparently broken a lot of promises. He's made a lot of claims that apparently are untrue. I don't know. Let's read the document. So Justin has filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy for NuTSR and everything associating it with TSR, which will liquidate the company's assets. Now, that's the big question is, then what happens to this? Who owns this? This imagery, this word, this iteration of TSR? Does it become the property of Wizards of the Coast? Does it become the property of the Gygax family? Does it become the property of whoever jumps on it first? What happens to that? Because he has to liquidate every asset, and ownership of the copyright of that specific version of TSR is an asset. So that's my question coming out of this. I mean, there's a lot of other questions, like how is somebody who claims he makes $38,000 a year now claim he's only making $100 a month, and that means where did the inventory go if he's declaring he has no inventory, and blah blah blah. And what is Chapter 7? What's the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 5? So yeah. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and we know I'm not a smart man, so I highly recommend you head on over to Tanker's Tavern or Tabletop Tap Room and listen to them talk about it, because they are far more intelligent than I am. And both Tom at Tabletop Tap Room and Tanker over at Tanker's Tavern would greatly appreciate your patronage, especially Tom. Help him hit 1,000 subs, because the guy is just doing so much work and has received so much slack with it. But yeah, now there is so many other things orbiting this story, like the breach of financial data thing from last year. Remember that? The ongoing soap opera of claims between them and Wizards of the Coast. The various horrible things LaNasa has supposedly done, either through himself or through puppet accounts or through people claiming to be representatives of him. But that's all under the bridge, because the Wizards of the Coast thing still remains unresolved. The copyright thing still remains unresolved. The financial data breach still remains unresolved. But this has gone to press. This is official. Justin has declared that NuTSR and everything associated with NuTSR is gone. So we don't know how that's going to affect the Dungeon Hobby Shop. We don't know how that's going to affect Ernie Gygax. We don't know how that's going to affect all the other things that are attached to TSR, NuTSR, like Star Frontiers, the game that doesn't exist, and all these other things. So yes, you can find all sorts of information about it, but I'm sure it is going to be very interesting once the lawyers and the financial investigators get into it, with Justin making so many outrageous claims about how much money he has and how much product he has. And, these are all documented, which means they can all be used as evidence in the case. Now he's filing Chapter 7. So what does that mean? Because basically, bankruptcy court serving the area, blah, blah, blah. In addition to the petition, the best of us, blah, blah, blah. How Chapter 7 works. You have to go to credit counseling. I did that. You have to go to debt repayment. I did that. You have to go to develop a debt repayment plan through a credit counseling. So basically, people buy up your debt. You have 60 days to let everybody know your monthly net income, work out the plan, and then they just start selling off your stuff to meet your debt. So, liquidating all your assets, which means they go through everything you own, your car, your house, jewelry, game collection, furniture, refrigerator. If you own it, it gets liquidated. They figure out the entire amount, and then they compare that to what the court has decided you owe. And then then they start selling off those things to meet the various debts you have acquired once you've gone through the debtor program and the credit program, which is about 60 days. Now, when I declared bankruptcy, it was a lot simpler because I only owed a couple, like $5,000. And mine was very simple because I was an individual and not a corporation. I had to go through counseling. I had a taint being on my credit reports for 7 years. I couldn't take out a credit card. My debt was purchased up by credit card debt collection companies that I had to pay off, stuff like that. But I didn't have to sell any shit or anything like that. Nothing was liquidated. Chapter 7 is everything becomes a chunk of money. That chunk of money is then used against what you owe the various individuals, what everybody's agreed upon, who has purchased the debt, because your debt goes for sale. And then you have to work out plans with those guys to meet the financial thing, which means you have to sell shit off. We evaluated that my car is worth X amount of money. I'm making a lien against the car to go towards the debt. They will either repossess the car to sell it to meet the debt. My house, probably have to take out a mortgage, or I might have to sell the house. All my, any physical materials, stock, bonds, jewelry, gold, signed copies of Wizards of the Coast, TSR, Gygax shit dating back to day one, all the stuff in the inventory at the Hot Dungeon Hobby Shop. These are all things that could go into the pile and be sold off. But again, the number one thing I think we're all wondering about is what happens to the name TSR. Now, can we say this is karma? Can we say that a man that has gone out of his way to instigate multiple problematic scenarios, especially with TSR, especially with witnesses. The guy even has puppeted account onto mine. He sent threats to me. He threatened to sue me, and I'm a nobody. He's gone after Tanker. He's gone after Tom. He's gone after Wizards of the Coast. He's just, I don't know. Probably there's a lot going on with Mr. LaNasa that I'm not in a place to comment about, which is why I highly recommend you head on over to Tabletop Taproom or Tanker's Tavern, as they both have a much more personal relationship with the non-stop seething pile of newsworthiness that is Mr. LaNasa. They have both had multiple personal encounters with him. Well, small little scrub white belt DMs like me, we're on the fringe of the nonsense that is Justin. Justin definitely has earned. So is this karma? And there's a lot of questions. Like, if you claim, you've claimed that you had made X amount of money, dude. And now you're claiming that, oh no, I only made $100 a month. Well, I mean, if you only made $100 a month, how did you pay rent? How did you pay food? How did you pay blah, 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 blah? We live in a, it can be handled a lot of different ways. It depends upon the judge. It depends on what the credit things, thing. It's not like other legal mumbo jumbo stuff. I mean, it can be very complicated. It can be very painful. It can be very embarrassing. It's hard to feel sorry for Justin that he's reached this point, considering he kind of has been, at least supposedly, hypothetically, remember there's no proof that I know of, his own worst enemy. But, he's got family, he's got friends, he's got moms and dads and uncles and aunts and cousins who are all going to be affected by that, depending upon how far the debt collectors and the judge wants to go. Everything is open when you declare Chapter 7, because they have to find all your resources to liquidate them. So, and then you're looking at, family and friends who will accept the burden should you not. I mean, I had to declare somebody else as a surrogate when I declared bankruptcy, in case, God forbid, something happened to me during that 7 years, somebody who would be willing to pick up the debt if I couldn't. I mean, imagine how painful that is to, ask your dad or your best friend to, hey, if in the next 7 years I die, are you willing to be my surrogate and cover the rest of this, $5,000 debt or 30, whatever it is Justin owes? Mine was like 5, so whatever. Yes, I'm not ashamed to say I declared bankruptcy, but yeah, look where I am now. Yeah, that's right. I'm published. Are you published? I'm published. I published this. Well, Miguel over at Red Room published this, but I wrote this. Well, I wrote some of it. Yeah. That was me. That was me. Well, we can't show that one. It's the naked picture of Candy X, but yeah, we can't show that one. But there's there's tiddlies in this. So yeah, buy my merch. Obviously, I am not smart enough to continue to talk about this, but there was no way I wasn't going to cover it. But I highly recommend you head on over to Tanker's Tavern or Tom over at Tabletop Tap Room. Links down below. They will go into it much more in depth than I am. And they both have had more personal relationships with Justin and NuTSR than I have. But in closing, don't worry. In case you are, TSR Concrete Coverings, the single largest retailer of concrete coverings in the Midwest, is fine. The only TSR that matters is fine. NuTSR, on the other hand, I don't know, dude. I think the big question again is going to be what happens to the name TSR, the Game Wizards. That's something that he owns the copyright to. That is something that could be considered a resource that needed to be liquidated, the ownership of that name. They could sell the copyright off to cover some of the debt, depending upon what agreements are made between the debt collectors, the credit counselors, and the judge, and if Justin is smart enough to get a bankruptcy attorney, which hopefully he is, though from what little I know about the man, based upon hearsay, he'll probably represent himself. Now, for my own defense, just remember, this is other than this bankruptcy thing, none of the other things about Justin have been proven. And again, I highly recommend you head on over to Tabletop Tap Room, link down below, or Tanker's Tavern, link down below, because again, they have a much more in-depth understanding, and they have a much more personal relationship with the nonsense that Mr. LaNasa has attempted over the years than I do. And we're now returning to our regularly scheduled tabletop role-playing game news. Till then, I'm the OG GM. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe, let me know. If you want to support me, there's a bunch of different ways you can support the OG GM. Until then, drive careful. It's raining.